Hello, and welcome to the I Love You But podcast. I'm Heather, and this is my sister,
Ryan. Each week, we will revisit relics of our childhoods using our multiple master's degrees
to critically evaluate the crap that consumed our misspent youth, so join us.
Sisters, latchkey kids, cuspers, and lazy feminists as we look back at our past to say, I love you, but...
How do you waste time this week, Ryan Davis?
I've been here in Texas with you and Mom, and we've been swimming, and I haven't been doing anything and going out to eat, and we went and saw the Barbie movie, so it's been a nice little vacation while we also grieve the loss of our father.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
True. I think that seeing the Barbie movie right before rewatching Grease was influential in my opinion of Grease on this viewing.
I think so too.
I think we can both agree that we've seen this movie countless times and we remember pretty much everything. The only caveat there being that we would have watched it made for TV, so a lot of the cursing and the other fun little things were cut out. Did you know that they envisioned making this as like a rated R, rated X cartoon?
Wow. No. Is that where that cartoon stuff came from in the beginning?
Yeah, so they did the cartoon at the beginning as an homage to that original concept. Hollywood is weird. So I want to talk about a real life memory I have associated with Grease. If we can do that before we jump in.
I have a lot of them, so yeah, go ahead.
I was in junior high. That's what we called it then. I was probably 13 or 14 years old. Picture me, it's summer. We're bored as fuck. I'm over at my friend Erica's house. We're both in theater together. And we're just singing and acting out Grease because, you know, I might be wearing a Sonic Youth t-shirt and a flannel, but I'm still a kid that loves singing and dancing badly. So we were there and her older sister was there. I think her older sister is 9 years older than her. So one of those, like, they weren't close, but more like a mentor than a sister kind of situation. And she was telling us that when we were in high school, you know, like 2 years later, 3 years later or something, we were going to have complete personality transplants. And we were going to be the kind of girls who just got in cars with boys and drove around the university strip every Saturday night. That would be something we would consider cool and would want to do. And no matter how vehemently.
And she said that because she considered it cool and fun to do?
Yeah, that's what she did in high school. So clearly, you know, we were going to grow out of our alt-rock grunge phase and suddenly give a shit about boys and like, you know, I mean, more than baseline giving a shit about boys. And quit doing theater, and we were going to become the kind of girls that want to sit in a car and watch someone clog up traffic for no good reason on a Saturday night. And I vehemently protested, and she would not hear it. And guess what? I totally became we did other weird shit in high school. It wasn't that.
No, we didn't do that in high school either. So
not that we did anything productive, but we didn't clog up traffic on a Saturday night. And I certainly didn't care what kind of car anyone drove ever in my entire life.
Yeah.
So
like,
and
you got a
typically
car,
I drove.
You gave
wherever
me
we
a ride.
went, I was driving. How about you? What are some of your Grease life memories?
Well, as you know, I would say that I was fairly obsessed with this movie as a child.
That's fair.
And, you know, the whole time period, 1950s time period, to the point that I had Grandma make me a poodle skirt. I think she made me 2 poodle skirts, actually.
I had one too.
Yeah, or I guess she made us.
We wore them to Kitty Corral.
We did a talent show.
That's right.
I don't remember what we did in our poodle skirts for the talent show, but I remember that we wore.
We wore poodle skirts.
That was our talent, wearing poodle skirts.
Having a grandma who could make us clothing was our talent.
Yeah, like surely we like, I don't know, sang and did a dance or something too, but
don't remember that. Just
yeah.
remember the skirt.
I mean,
yeah.
So I was pretty obsessed with this movie and very, still have some lingering obsessions with this time period. So then, I also did theater in middle school and high school. So then I remember my senior year, they did Grease as the musical. And I remember auditioning and thinking, I have to get in. Surely life is not so unfair that someone with a lifelong obsession and love of this movie won't get into the play. And I did not get in. I remember skinning my knee trying to do the dance during the auditions that they gave us, like a little choreographed dance routine.
Oh.
So, so that was disappointing. But that's okay. What better things happened later in life. It gets better.
What? Life didn't peak in high school for you, Ryan Davis? What?
Life did not peak in high school for me. I think life might be peaking right now.
Yeah, I think you got a good life right now. There's some good shit going on.
Yeah, so those are my memories.
Well, let's dig into it. Dig into this Grease. You want to start?
Yes, I will say, you remember, so we watched this together, and we did very good of not talking to each other.
Yes, we did. I'm proud of us.
But there were some moments where I would bust out, like, with uncontrollable laughter.
Yeah, and I would get real curious.
Yeah. So because we have seen this movie so many times, it allowed me to pay attention, and, like, we were watching it on Dad's, like, giant fucking TV.
Yeah, in HD. Yeah.
In HD. So I was really able to, like, see things in the background that I had never. So there was, like, a lot of moments of the extras being real hilarious, whether they meant to or not. So that just to quell and then I'll give in details as we go through. But yeah, so those times where I was just like laughing at what wasn't necessarily that funny of a scene, it was because of the background people doing.
Yeah. Things. I think my overall takeaway from this viewing was, how is gender good for anyone? But to say that, I also really enjoyed it. I mean, this movie is dumb as hell. Like, I'm going to rip it apart, but I still enjoyed it very much. I still was wanting to sing along, and it's a joyful film.
I don't know that I would say
that has no relation to reality.
Yeah, I think mine would not, how is gender good for anybody, but how are romantic relationships good for anybody?
According to this, not so much. Yes. And I have more comments on that later. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So they, part of what makes this movie definitely something that people like, despite, is the music actually good? Did the songs make sense together as a package? Rewatch the dancing and think about, if you did that move, how it might look. Like,
the signature chicken.
Is it actually good dancing? The chicken is a lot. Pretty much every move that our boy
Donnie T,
the Scientology dude,
that
he made was like, that's not a thing. But like Dirty Dancing, you have the nostalgia trap of like, it's the 50s and everything was better then because we say so. But at the same time, you have these nods to the modern era. So the fact that the theme song was written by Barry Gibb, who became famous for being in the Bee Gees, who were disco, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But then it was sung by somebody who was in the Four Seasons, I think. So the vocal quality was evocative of the 50s, but the the music itself was 100% of the era, 1978. So last week we watched Raiders of the Lost Ark, which was your birth year, and this week we're watching Grease, 78, which is my birth year. So that just kind of worked out. And in case you're keeping track of these things, dear listener, this is the third of 4 of our summer themed I'm young, I'm in love, and I gotta dance about it. So we will definitely be talking about being young and in love and having to dance about it.
We're already talking about the dancing.
I really like how Sandy was portrayed as the Snow White bitch in the cartoon.
Okay.
I love that stylistically it looks like I'm just a bill on Capitol Hill.
Very 70s art. Yeah.
Uh-huh. My first note, I didn't make a single note during the beach scene at all. I do want to, we can talk about it now and talk about it later, but our cousin Trish, hey Trish, asked us, like, are we going to talk about the fan theory that Sandy actually got injured on the beach, that, you know, she's in a coma fighting for her life and the whole movie is a fever dream of her, and then at the end she actually dies, and that's why the car flies away to heaven. Which kind of makes some of the shit that doesn't make any sense make a lot more sense if you think about it as a coma fever dream. Then you're like, oh, okay.
So
yeah, cool.
You know how you tasked me with researching that conspiracy theory?
I thought we did the opposite, but okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Okay, well,
really
whatever my
matter.
job was that you told me to do last night before we went to bed, I forgot.
Oh, okay. That's okay.
Sorry.
I did a little bit of both, so it's fine.
Yep, that doesn't... Yeah. I have a question, since we're talking about Sandy. So, could Olivia Newton-John just not do an American accent? Like, I wonder if they, tried to have her do an American accent, and they were just like, because, like, you know, again, we just saw Barbie movie, so we saw Margot Robbie, who has not an American, who does very well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they tried to make her do it. I don't know the original play very well. So for all I know, in the original,
the Australian thing was very much because they cast Olivia Newton-John. So I just wonder.
Well, you know, next week we're gonna watch Grease 2, and there's that whole confusing thing about she's my cousin, but he's English, so like
not that far-fetched.
I mean, I could have a cousin from England or Australia.
He's English, but he's not English. Like that actor. Like, anyways, we'll save it for.
That's a whole other thing. I don't know. Apparently not. What I thought was funny was I read that she was worried she would look too old for the part. And then she did some screen tests and she's like, no, I look okay. Like, you look great. You look gorgeous.
You don't look 16.
You look old. You look. Yep.
Everyone in this movie is 30. They're all
and that's what they
30.
said. So basically, because they were kind of trying to make it more adult, they actually wanted people who looked like adults, or so they say. And that what was important to them was that they all kind of looked the same age. And I don't know how they cast Chacha Di Gregorio, however you say her name, because she looked much older than
she was 30. She's the one that made me start looking at them up. Because, of course, in HD, they all look older. But Stockard Channing was 34. So Stockard Channing was 4 years older than whoever played Cha-Cha.
Wow.
And then John Travolta was the youngest that I looked up. He was only 24. Yeah.
I read 23, so yeah.
Well, I was doing like year math.
But he had already been in Welcome Back, Kotter and a couple of hit movies and all that good stuff. So
yeah.
This whole thing.
Yeah, I was real... So, yeah.
Hey, that toxic masculinity, how good was that?
Well, what part of the movie are we jumping to now? Just all
the
of
whole
it?
Part.
Oh, the whole thing. Okay, we're not going to go scene by scene.
We can go. I just was noting, like at the very beginning, like as soon as Kenickie shows up, so does the toxic masculinity. Yeah, I was like, oh, that's sad.
Yeah.
One of the things that I noticed was one of the background actors was walking around with a book on her head for no reason.
Yeah, I remember her. Yeah. That's some of the background.
What the hell?
So like when Sandy's trying to register and the principal is like giving her these forms and she's like, "Excuse me, I never noticed this because there's like two guys about to start fighting in the hallway." And I never noticed that. I also want to say that I love that this movie had a female principal when one of the high schools in Lexington just hired its first female principal. So
Ever?
the one high school. I mean, not for the entire like county.
Oh, okay.
But
Wow.
I don't know. I guess I have to read the whole article. I'm wondering if this is the first female high school head principal in the county for Fayette County. Maybe it is. Maybe that's why it's such a big deal, and not just that high school. So yeah, well done, Greece, for being at least ahead of Lexington, Kentucky Fayette schools.
Yeah, and then I have several calm downs in a row. So Danny, when he does his stupid walk, calm down, Danny. You don't need to do that walk. You don't need to do that.
They have so much energy for the first day of school or any day of school because, like, I teach high school and this is not.
No, Patty Simcox like trying to like get all up in Sandy's skirt. Like, calm down.
Yeah,
you just met her. Like, calm down.
All the fucking prank
thing,
like, and bullying.
Yeah, the pranks and the bullying and like all this shit. Like, calm down, everyone. Just calm the fuck down. Be less cruel to each other. Like, what the hell? Poor Eugene, that guy. Oy.
Yeah.
Like, no reason. It's just like the pecking order in the jungle. It's ridiculous. But you know what holds up to this day? Let me tell you, from 1978 to 2023, 45 years. Kenickie's ass, baby.
Oh my God, and those jeans? Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah. With the shoom em up, bop, bop, bop. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Yeah.
Hate that number now. The girls are all about the money and the material, and the boys are all about the sex, which is where I wrote, how is gender good for anyone?
Yeah. There's so much like slang, and I know it's all related to like body parts and sex, but I don't understand so much of it. Like, and I like the foam domes. Like, what does that mean? Like fake breasts, like fake boobs, like stuffing your bra. Like, what does that even?
I think that may not be sex related.
Oh.
I think that might be an Italian American slang, because there was a lot of that thrown into.
Okay, there was so much that I'm just
how
like
Kenickie was using.
You know, maybe because he's.
Did you know that the actor who played Kenickie played Danny on Broadway?
Oh no, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, I know he's been in a lot of other stuff.
When he was being an asshole, you didn't tell, but when he was not being an asshole, he actually had some good acting in here a little bit. Talk about that too.
Yeah, I love that when they're doing. Oh, so when they're doing that scene and they start dancing and the guys, and then there's just like the one guy who kind of shows up and is like standing about 4 feet away from them, also dancing like, "Hey guys, I'm part of your crew.
Yeah.
Hey, bitches be crazy.
Summer lovin'."
And then, so I started kind of chuckling at that, and then during the like, towards the end of the like girls part, get me married, you know, because they're like in the outdoor cafeteria area or whatever. There's like homeboys sitting on the corner of one of the tables, end of a table with like an apron on, just like staring into space while they're all like singing their bullshit songs, like cafeteria workers, just like, oh, this job. Like, what the fuck is that guy even doing there? Like, why is he there? Like, that made me laugh really hard.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Grease is a musical about people who aren't teenagers who might or might not be in love. And their whole high school year, their senior high school year takes place in less than 2 hours. It's great. Nothing makes sense.
Yeah.
So then after Summer Lovin', we get the bonfire where they're
Yes.
literally burning an effigy. Again, calm down.
Yeah,
Calm down at this pep rally. You don't need to do all this.
we can't do that
I
anymore.
do miss the long cheer skirts. I will never give up. I don't care. You know what? You want to wear the short skirts, it's great, but I like the long ones. I just think they're adorable. Principal McGee's cloak or whatever situation she had on that night was
Her whole
Probably
wardrobe
the-
was lovely because I even made a note about
Yeah.
her dress at the dance. Was gorgeous for
yeah.
like an old lady dress.
classing it up, Principal McGee. I like it.
Yeah.
There is nothing like angry white teens.
I know. It was like there was a clip there and I was like, this could be from like mop footage.
I know. It was
Yeah.
scary.
It was very interesting. I mean, I do like the kind of like, I don't know if it's tongue in cheek, but the like basically like we're a really shitty football team, but we're still gonna have this huge bonfire and pretend that we're gonna bring it back, you know.
Oh yeah, it definitely was that. And that was kind of funny.
So
I
we
did
know that
think,
in the bonfire scene is when we get the big reveal that Sandy and Danny are going to the same school.
yes.
Which how they have not run into each other at this point is insane. That school does not look that big.
because these people just run in packs with each other.
I mean, that's true, yes, but like they don't have any classes together. I mean, I guess that's presuming that they're going to their classes. Because it
Yep.
seems like Danny and his friends just hang out in the car shop. But also, when she knew she wasn't going to Australia, like, where was the beach? Like, where is the beach where they met? And is it so far? And they didn't talk about, oh, I live over in wherever, or I go to school here. They didn't
They
exchange.
made no pen pal plans.
Yeah, they didn't exchange phone numbers. They didn't exchange addresses. She didn't think to like, hey, change of plans. Like
No,
literally,
it was just supposed to be like they had the summer. That was
but
it.
then she's like, we'll never see each other again, and he's like, don't be silly. Like,
Mhm.
this is only the beginning. Like, how was that the beginning if there was nothing?
He's like,
and so that
I've
you're
been
like,
priming this pump all summer and I have had no action. I am not giving up. That's what
but
Danny
I'm
Zuko
also
says.
not putting anything in place to help me keep going.
He didn't seem like a man with a plan, I gotta say.
We had a change of plans. Like, you had a change of plans to not move back to Australia? That's like not a change of plans. Like, there's more to that story.
You gotta
Anywho.
calm down. You, like these teenagers, need to calm down.
Yeah.
The Scorpions need a better hobby
Yes. They're like,
than just harassing these teenagers.
what is your gang? Like, come
Yeah,
on.
I don't. What
Although
is the
that
point?
one, whatever, one of the three stooges that they're friends with, and his fucking squirt gun.
Yeah. Sonny? Did he have the
Yeah.
squirt gun?
No, Sonny was the other one.
There was Putz, who was the blonde.
The blonde was Putz, and Duty, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, Duty.
Duty.
His name was Duty.
Yeah, Duty with the squirt gun, like when the scorpions are driving by, like, ugh, armed. Like Kenickie flips his knife.
Yeah. I do like that there's kind of, you feel that special connection between Danny and Kenickie where they know, like, they're hanging out with three idiots. Like, but they are leading and they kind of know what's happening and they're cool, you know?
Yeah.
They don't keep things from each other kind of situation. I thought that was interesting. Man, Danny had some real kinergy there at that meet and greet reunion.
Oh, you know, baby, just it's cool. Hanging out, do my thing. I forgot you even existed. I mean, hey.
And here we go with the toxic femininity with men are rats.
Yeah.
And the only man a girl can depend on is her daddy.
I mean, to be fair, if the type of men that Frenchie has been dealing with her whole life is represented by these gentlemen in this movie, then
Gentlemen.
I see how she would think that men are amoebas on fleas on rats.
Yeah.
Because they're pretty fucking crap. Like, they're pretty garbage.
Yeah. So then the next scene is the sleepover at Frenchie's house, and Sandy goes along, and
Gets assaulted.
Maraschino's doing her best exercises, which cracked me up. And Rizzo's in that purple shirt and her yellow panties, which is definitely a look I remember.
Yes.
Can I say,
I swear to God, the framed, unfinished paint by number above the bed. Like, 100%. I want to get one of those in my, like, I want to find some paint by number and unfinish it and frame it and hang it up. That's really cool.
I wrote, what the hell is that horse/map art above Frenchie's bed? And then I realized that it was an unfinished paint by number, and I just wrote ADHD ? And every time Sandy talked about, all I could think about was Bluey. I was just trying to think of Bluey lines I could insert instead of her useless dialogue. What can I do?
We'll say, okay, so you said the thing about, Zuko and Kenickie, and now it's like, I really, at the end of this movie, I just was like, I think if there was a feeling happening, and it came to fruition or full circle, came to life at the end. It's like Danny and Sandy are in another movie, and they sometimes show up in this movie.
Yes, they definitely. And if you think about the number of scenes that they actually had together, it's very few.
They're supposed to be like the stars of this movie, but really, to me, the Pink Ladies and the T-Birds are the stars of this movie. And
I would guess that comes from the Broadway show.
Maybe, but they just seem like they weren't, because even when they were, obviously Sandy's not one of the Pink Ladies, but even when Danny's with the T-Birds, he doesn't seem like, I don't know, he just doesn't fit in with them, to me, you know what I mean? He's
right.
I don't know, it's weird.
Arguably, that makes it a little more believable that he would choose this sort of jock identity over the T-Bird identity.
Well, she made it so easy for him that he didn't have to change at all. So, yay!
Yeah, that made it real easy for him. Hopelessly Devoted song. She's like, there's nothing else for me to do. And I'm like, there's nothing else for you to do. You were flirting with that football player an hour ago.
raggle-mouth Kindle. The raggle-mouth human Kindle. Did you see him every time they cut and he was in the background? That man never closed his mouth once in that movie.
He did that. He was 100% raggle-mouth.
I know we're not supposed to talk about people's appearance, but if anyone looked like a human Ken doll, it is that guy.
Also, we have definitely talked about appearance in this episode, so I think we can just let that rule go.
I still like to mention it, that we are at least aware that we shouldn't. But I also how before that she's like, I'm so sorry to be so much trouble. I'm sorry after you made me smoke a cigarette, drink alcohol, and then stabbed me in the ear without my permission multiple times. I'm sorry to be such a mother. Fuck y'all. Damn.
Yeah, what is there even about Sandy to like? I don't know. So after this, Rizzo sneaks out. She does, look at me, I'm Sandra D. And then makes fun of her, and then is like, I don't know. She shimmies down the drain pipe and runs off with the T-Birds, and Kenickie kicks them all out of the car after Danny walks away in a funk, and they go to make out point. And, then his condom breaks, and of course, as a child, I had no idea what the hell was happening. Plus, they probably cut a lot of that out.
Yeah.
I did like, though, that, you could tell he was really disappointed,
Yeah.
But he didn't, push her or pester her or anything like that. He just kind of sat there, and then she came to a decision. So I liked that, even though most of the time they all act like a bunch of sex pests.
Yeah.
In that real moment, he was just like, oh, dang.
Well, guess we're not going to.
And not long after that, apparently, we have Grease Lightning.
Well, hold on. I've got something to say before we get to Grease Lightning.
Okay,
About
tell me.
Hopelessly Devoted to You. So she's out there in their backyard. And if you recall at the bonfire, they all had coats and lovely scarves on, yet there's a kiddie pool set up.
Yeah, it's very convenient.
Yeah, in the backyard. So I was very confused by that. But yes, okay, that's all
called
I
a
wanted
convenient prop. That's all that is. It's a convenient prop.
So now you can talk about Grease Lightning.
That fucking lighter, Kenickie-'s ridiculous lighter.
What the fuck? But okay, so this is one of those where I was dying laughing at the extras because I don't know if you noticed, but every other shop kid in that scene before it switched to like fantasy time was like, what the fuck? Like, seriously looking at them, like if you go look at the margins of the screen, they're like all standing frozen with their tools, like, what the fuck are y'all doing? It's
a very
hilarious.
Good question.
It is fucking hilarious. Like, yes. I was dying.
Yep. We, of course, never really got the meaning and all the double entendre of Grease Lightning. But man, the fact that he just says a real pussy wagon is just...
Yeah.
Yep.
They were going for it.
Did they do a visual homage to Washington crossing the Potomac? Is that what I saw at one point? Like, Danny's pointing and like half crouched down and all the other guys. I don't know. I'm gonna put them up side by side.
I don't remember anyone hanging on the back of the boat with their feet and arms in the air, so that's kind of my argument against. But I mean, there's definitely something very manifest destiny about that pose as well. Like, onward into the fray!
We're all headed in the same direction in the pussy wagon.
We're going to get the pussy. We will. We're on a conquest for pussy.
Because as they say after this, those chicks are only good for one thing.
Yeah. Okay,
Jesus
so let me...
fucking Christ.
Yes. And we get the chicken dance again. Okay, two things. One, I have to ask you.
Yes.
I don't know if this is a thing for you, but it is a thing for me.
Okay.
Gentlemen with their belt buckle on the side is so fucking hot, and it has been for me for so many years. I don't know why. It is so...
On the side?
Yes, with the buckle instead of a buckle in front. Because they all... So, like, Danny always has his on the side. Ryan Gosling in a scene in BARBIE that might have been very similar to this scene also has his buckle on the side. Like, all the people that work at the valvoline place, including the women, have their buckles on the side. And every time I'm like, God, it's just so hot. There's a Noah guy who played bass, and so he always had the I don't know what it is, but like...
It's interesting because part of the reason to have the buckle in front is to draw the eye to the package, right?
Yes.
Yes, that is fact. I mean, it's the same reason that I don't remember what movie it was, but some movie in the 90s. There was a character who was like, but obviously I'm emasculated because I wear a bow tie. And, you know, a more masculine man would wear a long tie because it draws attention toward the groin and mimics a penis, right?
Yes, Jesus.
So I think it's interesting that you like that. I also think it's interesting because you hate asymmetry.
I know! I don't know what it is.
Look at you, contradiction enigma lady.
Dress pants with a buckle on the side, because it's not like belt buckles in general do anything for. Although sometimes those cowboy belt buckles are, you know.
You like those big ones?
I don't know, but and these are all tiny, just tiny little. Here's a tiny little metal buckle. Like, I don't know. Oh, gets me.
I literally never noticed, so no, not a thing for me.
Oh.
But we know how I feel about voices, so it's fine.
And then the other thing I have is, what's hotter, Johnny T on that motor or Miley Cyrus on the wrecking ball? Which one? Who wore it best? Because that's what it reminded me of when he came in riding that motor.
Miley Cyrus, because she didn't look like she was about to fall off. That's mine. I have a similar question for you.
Okay.
Is Nick Cage imitating John Travolta? Or is John Travolta imitating Nick Cage? Every time he would get weird and awkward, it just reminded me of Nick Cage so much.
I mean, it has to be Nick Cage and like imitating John Travolta because Nick Cage's movies were all from
because
the 80s.
Of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that just makes it like super weird too because of that whole movie Face Off where they literally fucking switched faces.
That is fucked.
So maybe whoever wrote and cast Face Off was like, yes, I know this will work. Because
they
they're
both act
already
like
the same
weirdos.
person.
I don't know why I didn't appreciate as a child the I want to be an athlete dress up montage more.
Hold on, before we get there.
Yeah.
Who takes their ice cream to the bathroom with them, Rizzo? Girl. Ma'am. Don't be taking your ice cream cone into the bathroom. What are you doing? Yeah.
What if you get stuck in the bathroom because there's a tornado? Then you don't have your ice cream.
I have bigger concerns if there's a tornado than what's happening to my ice cream cone. Like, I'm walking out of that bathroom like...
I hated the scene where they were together at the diner and all the other people come over because she's like trying to make eyes and like be like, hey, this is our inside joke and we're laughing at our friends. And he's just super uptight and no fun at all. Like,
well, so like when they get there and he's like, hey, let's leave. And she's like, Danny, and she like looks at him. You can see in her eyes, she's saying with her eyes, I know you're ashamed of me. Like, or I know you don't want them to see us together or what, you know what I mean? Like, basically she's communicating like, we're going to have to deal with this motherfucker, so man up.
Right. And he cannot.
Yes. I will say, so here's another memory.
Yeah.
Because I also wrote that I really wish that there was a Frosty Palace that I could go to. And I do remember, so I know that I was obsessed enough with like the 50s and Grease and diners because I remember one time when I went with Dad on his, like on a work trip, right? Because he used to drive and he'd be gone for a few days. And so I remember sometimes in the summer I would go with him.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was like during the day in Dallas. And I remember he took me to a restaurant that was like a diner type and it had like the jukebox at the table and like all the chrome and everything. I don't know if it was like historic or like whatever, but I remember that's a very strong memory I have of Dad being a good dad, being a great dad.
Aww.
So,
that's nice.
Yeah.
It's never scary when an angry man runs after a woman yelling at her. Not scary at all. Kenickie running after Rizzo in the diner scene.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, because we said the sports things.
That happened before. The athletics dress-up montage was before the diner
I was gonna
scene.
say that's he put a lot of energy into that one kid and finding him. Like, what a dedicated educator.
I know.
I'm gonna find you the sport that's right for you.
Also, arguably the best actor in the entire film.
Oh yeah, no, he was great. Yeah, he was great.
Yeah. Apparently John Travolta never smoked because I have never seen anyone so awkward with cigarettes. Like, oh my God. Every single time he's touching them.
Hanging out of his goddamn mouth. Like,
but if he's holding it, it's worse.
While we're here, before we get to arguably one of the better musical scenes, I think, or enjoyable. Just so everyone knows, Jan and the actress who played Jan is not fat. Not fat.
They just put her in clothes that didn't fit.
Yes, they put her in oversized clothes, but she is not fat. She's not even like chubby. She
Nope.
is thin. So
Yep.
when she's talking about how she's been dieting all day, and there was like a couple moments there where,
Yep.
oh, there's more to you than just fat. I swear that's what her beau or intended beau said to her, which to me
Oh yeah,
that's akin to like when people used to tell me, you'd be
you
so
have a pretty
pretty if
face. Oh yeah. Yeah.
you'd be so pretty if you just lost weight, motherfucker.
That was Putz. Putz said that to
Yeah.
her.
Um, and then I'm like, she's not gonna forget. And then I've been dieting all day. Like, ugh, fucking hell. Okay, so
Are gender roles good for anyone? No.
no. Have you ever seen a movie with Debbie Reynolds in it?
Yeah. She's in Singing in the Rain.
Okay. I didn't know because she's like,
And I mean, and a
she
ton of
was
other
like, it
stuff.
worked for Debbie Reynolds and Tammy. And I'm like, what's Tammy? And have I ever even seen a Debbie Reynolds movie? I mean, I know she's super famous and like, what's her face's mom, but
Maybe we should do a first watch of Tammy.
maybe.
I'm sure it would make us angry.
When you first conceived us doing this podcast, would you have ever imagined that we would already have had two Frankie Avalon movies so early on?
Never.
And yet here we are.
I forgot that there were even two movies with Frankie Avalon that I had seen, since I don't really watch that
Like
kind of stuff.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Also, do you
And
remember when he did the Sonic commercials?
No, I don't remember
You don't
that.
remember Frankie Avalon doing Sonic commercials? Oh
No, but I believe you.
man, he was the Sonic guy forever.
I'm trying to figure out at what age I figured out that the beauty school girls were actually the pink ladies.
Yes, same here.
It's-
How many
It took me way
times
too
did I
long
have
is
to
the
watch
answer.
it to figure out that Jan Rizzo and Marty were the
Yeah.
angels?
Yeah.
Long time.
Her guardian angel's kind of a dick.
You know what? I like that. She needed tough love. She needed tough love, right? So it's if she had tried to get her guardian angel before she dropped out of school, I'm sure he would have been very kind and like, but she's already done it. And yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
she needed tough love. That she didn't need any gentle like, you're not really good at this, so maybe like, no, good, stop. Unless
So we
she
get the
was
two-
a sex worker.
I
It's
did like
just
that
an
you
edit for any future
updated the
re-releases of
lyrics.
this movie.
Also, I don't know, was hooker even a word that was used in the 50s? Maybe, I don't know.
I don't know.
Then after beauty school dropout, we have
The dance.
American Bandstand at the high school, where apparently one of the rules that isn't a rule because they say all the rules is that you don't even have to go to that school to be a part of the situation, because the leader of the Scorpions and Cha-Cha Di Gregorio both show up, and neither of them go to that fucking school.
They are the guests of someone who goes to that school.
I still think it shouldn't count. It's bullshit. They had terrible security at this dance.
I mean, so for us,
Always...
you can do that, but you have to get like a permission slip. Like you have to like get previous permission to have someone who isn't a student at our school.
Yeah, but it was also supposed to be showing off Rydell as this whatever school, and like, why would you allow interlopers? I'm just saying, it didn't make sense to me.
I mean, again, I say plot.
In my heart of heart, I'm in love with all the girls sitting on the sidelines doing the dance steps.
Yeah. And at one point when Sandy's like, here, wallflower girl, I don't know, hold this. Like when she gets up to dance again for her little like capelet thing.
You don't matter.
Yeah.
Hold my cape.
Also, any man grabbing a woman, putting his hand on the back of her neck is fucking disgusting and hostile.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Like as a
all.
way to like, no, don't put your hand on the back of a woman's neck.
Nope.
Ugh.
And only on the front if she asks for it. and you've got a safe word. The dance pacing that Danny does when he sees Cha-Cha.
Oh, when he like turns around really fast. Yeah, that was good.
Yes, and he goes back like 2 or 3 times. Like, I gotta keep dancing. Which, if once he starts dancing, he can't stop, might explain something that happens later that is terrible. But
he's not an Oompa Loompa.
Ryan and I were both really confused about why there were so many dudes on the stage dancing and not playing music. Like, there were several musicians on the stage.
The gamblers. Those are the gamblers. Because it was Johnny
Those
Casino.
are the gamblers.
And the gamblers.
Vince Fontaine is a schmuck.
Oh my God, what a nasty, gross piece of person.
Yeah, I just can't stop these dancing feet. And despite never seeming to care about dance before, I must win this contest by allowing the girl that I'm purportedly in love with to leave, and I will dance with my not ex-girlfriend.
And then continue to dance to her after I've already stopped dancing. So the stopping dancing, the I can't stop dancing argument doesn't hold water. Because then
they had to do their victory dance because they won.
I think he's a piece of shit.
Oh yeah, he's also a piece of shit. That's true. Joan Blondell was in this movie. If you guys remember us talking about Death Set, Joan Blondell was great in that. She was great in this. Loved it.
The main waitress who Frenchie talked to, and then there. And I'm sure know that one of the other waitresses who spoke was John Travolta's mother.
I did know that, and somebody's cousin or niece or something was in there too. We got the nostalgia stacked on nostalgia stacked on nostalgia, and then we go to a drive-in.
Yes.
I do think they all need to stop worrying about what other people say about them and be less cruel to each other, and try to be a little more High School Musical and a little less Grease. Good God.
Watching that gossip spread, though, was a pretty fun scene.
Yeah, that was cute.
Like, following her by the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I wrote a message or a question for Sandy.
Mm-hmm.
How many times does he have to shit on you for you to be like, I'm done? Like, how many times? Because we're now up to 3, at least.
He's shown you who he is, girl, when he's not on that beach. Believe him.
Yeah. Like, maybe he showed you who he was on the beach, but that's not the only person he is.
However, along the lines of ridiculous and hilarious choreography, when he sings Heaven and points, it's over there. And I have a question about this song too. In this one, he's not sure why she left. I'm like, you can't even guess?
No, you have no idea.
Not even a little?
No.
No clue?
What
really?
Will they say? Yeah, exactly. Here's what they say.
Quit worrying about what other people think about you. God damn.
Oh, and here I have a question for Mom that I haven't asked her.
She's not here, but okay.
Yeah.
Bring it on.
Did you think it was okay messaging for 2 young girls? Like, letting us watch this movie where you're like, yes, this is an acceptable thing, messages I want my 2 daughters in the 80s to receive about interacting with the opposite sex. Because I'm pretty sure she was a fan of Gloria Steinem and maybe read some of her work and is an intelligent human being. And maybe she was just so tired, of being struggling and lower middle class mother to 2 young children, whatever.
We were working poor, but continue.
Working poor with a husband who, while great in many ways, wasn't necessarily always doing an equal amount of parenting and anything. So, but yeah, okay. Yeah, that's my question for Mom.
But it was cool that the auto shop teacher is a woman. That part was cool.
Yes, and the principal was a woman. Yes, yes. Yeah. But that's like the Barbie argument, right? Like,
Yeah.
like today I saw a thing where Margot Robbie's like, Barbie was an astronaut in 1965 before women could even like open a credit card. And it's like, yeah, that's great, but and again, they do a great job of this in the movie of going, but Barbie also set really realistic, unrealistic stereotypes and body ideals for like generations of women.
Yes,
So
it's true.
Yes, they're doing some
I
things
mean, the
well.
fact that we're all supposed to be able to do the splits, give it up. Can't all do the splits. Get over it.
Well, and Barbie could only split one direction. She couldn't go except for that one. Most Barbies could only go one way. Like there wasn't
I love that we got the more toxic masculinity at the auto shop as they're getting ready to go to Thunder Road, aka the LA River, and they can't even hug. Like they kind of hug and then they have to like walk away and shake it off or whatever. I'm like the homosocial gap is like wider than the LA River. Like this is ridiculous.
Okay,
and I know it's true to life.
Oh, go ahead.
But I wish that it were somehow played up more so that people would realize how ridiculous it is. That like that's kind of what's nice about Barbie is that it pushes it to that point where you have to be like, oh,
this is ridiculous.
Wait a minute.
Yeah. Like it has to be so over the top parodied for you to even recognize that it exists. Let alone recognize that it's a problem.
Right. Yeah.
One real quick thing back to the drive-in. I loved that whole scene of that bun trying to get that hot dog to jump in it.
You know what? John Travolta should thank that hot dog because every time I was like, this is dumb, I'd be like, oh, look at that hot dog in that bun.
Hot dog's doing flips, and the bun's like, yeah. And then the bun's like, all right, time to come on, playtime's over. And like opens itself. Hot dog's like, okay. That was stupid. But enjoyable.
Yeah, it was definitely it added because I mean seriously, like between Hopelessly Devoted and then Stranded at the Drive-In and Sandy, like they're all lame songs. Like these are not good songs. These are not fun songs. There's no real dancing to them. Like it's just like one person singing and being like, I'm sad and I don't understand why. And we're like, we understand why. Quit singing.
Because you're a piece of shit. Yeah.
And there was that ridiculous disco soundtrack at Thunder Road that I could not handle.
I don't have any notes from Thunder Road. I was just like, eh.
You get the vulnerable Kenickie again, which I loved.
Yes.
Like, oh my God. I could just, give me a super cut of Grease with just Kenickie. I have a question about Thunder Road. Sandy's kind of sitting off by herself thinking about what she needs to do. Why did she take off her shoes just to sit there? I mean, they were like kids, like
on the hot concrete,
like off your shoes.
Where there was probably
then she stood, and I was like, "Does she have 3 feet?" And then I was like, "Oh no, she took her shoes off. Why?" At that point, I'm like, this collection of songs makes no sense. Like, if you ignore the movie completely and put the collection of songs together, you would just be like, none of these songs goes with each other. Why are these all here? I don't understand. Then she decide what they need to do, and they show up at the fun fair,
the end of year carnival, which I would love to do for my seniors every year. I really wish we could do something like that, but
that'd be so expensive.
Yes.
And this is the only scene where the dancing in Grease reminds me of the dancing in Grease 2, in that it do go on too long. But at one point, the chorus are dancing in the middle of the fun fair.
Yeah.
And some dude starts doing a dance that I can only describe as the Groucho Marx.
Yes.
I want to know how I missed that and why that was never popular.
I have loved that person for a long time and afar, and you were able to see him more in this one. And I looked it up, and his name, I'm gonna forget his name, but I looked him up because when I was looking up the cast for how old they were, I was like, oh, let's see who this guy is. And he was a very famous ballet dancer. He died in 2015.
Oh,
But yeah, he had his own. Yeah, he was a very famous dancer who was in like a couple of things, but he did a lot of like ballet in New York City.
and the Groucho Marx dance.
Yeah, so it was like Devins or Blevins or something. I don't know his last name.
It's fine. They
So
can look it up.
yeah, he was a great dancer. So I just kept watching him because I was
Yeah.
like, you're an actual, like this is what you do, and he was dancing great. I do
Yes.
love that so many times in this movie when they're dancing, John Travolta's like dirty because he's like fallen to the ground, like or
Yeah.
like done something where he's dancing on his knees or something, like in multiple points, and all he wears is black.
Right.
So like every time in this movie, he's like covered in dirt, right? And like, yeah.
That was pretty cute.
And it is just fun. Like, I know part of me still wants to be like, for all the terrible
The
things.
patriarchy,
The
gender
patriarchy,
roles,
gender
body
roles.
stereotypes.
Yes, like, young Ryan thinking that this is the summer where I'll come back to school and I'll have a huge, complete revelation, look over a new person. I'm cool now. I'm thin now, whatever. And people will whatever. Yeah, but it's still really fun.
So I wanted to say, I know that you really struggled rewatching some of this stuff because you're realizing how it had a really negative impact on your self-esteem,
Yeah.
feeling like you weren't cool enough, you weren't pretty enough, you weren't thin enough, all of that. I was thinking about this and I wanted to bring it up for a couple of weeks, but I wanted to save it for Grace because I think it works.
Yeah.
They both completely make themselves over to be the person that they think the other person wants them to be.
Yeah.
Which is not how love should work. And also, they both end up as greasers somehow. So Sandy loses her complete identity.
Yeah.
To fit into Danny's life and arms and fly away into the sunset with him or whatever the fuck. I know that Hollywood's portrayal of romantic love has completely fucked up my understanding of what romance should be.
Yeah.
Where it is something, the amount of time I've wasted thinking about boys or thinking, well, I'll go to this party because there could be boys there or whatever. And then never recognizing that, one, none of them were that cool at all ever.
No.
And I'm sorry, y'all just weren't. I grew up here. I'm sure there's cool guys somewhere. And I am an introvert who is never going to be able to just be like, yo, what's up? How's your dick doing? Like, that's not, I don't have that energy. Like, I'm not a Rizzo. Like, I'm very much more like a Sandy, but I'm not that big a goddamn idiot, except that apparently I am, because there have definitely been relationships I've been in where the amount of work I put into changing myself to fit who I think that person wants me to be is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got to compromise and work things out and whatever, but the amount of energy I've put into saving terrible relationships, my understanding of what a good romantic relationship should be. And finally, I just fucking gave up. Dad used to bug me all the time, and not to slag off Dad who can't defend himself now, but all the time was like, you're never going to get married. You're never going to have kids. And it was just because selfishly he wanted a grandchild. It had nothing to do with my own happiness.
100%. Yeah.
And finally one year I think it was The Atlantic I was reading. It was like a Valentine's Day edition. And they had an interview with the guy who created eHarmony. And the woman who wrote the article went on and made a profile before she met him so that she could try it out and see what happened.
Yeah.
And she didn't have very good matches. And he'd been talking to her for a while and they talked about it. And he said, "Oh, I was afraid you would have done that. Your IQ is going to make it really hard for you to find a match." I was like, Dad, the person who invented the most popular dating app in the world at the time just said, "Hey, lady, you smart. You're not going to find anybody on the internet. What the fuck do you want me to do?" And so all this time I kept thinking, it's me. There's something wrong with me. I'm not enough. I'm not skinny enough. I'm not demure enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not doing makeup enough. I'm not whatever. And it was just like, fuck it.
Because I can remember I can remember you using the phrase, "Would that I could dumb myself down or doll myself up."
Yeah.
Back in the 2000s when we were, being dumb.
I mean, really, I just need the whatever blocker so I can talk to strangers without having panic attacks. But also
and this is not to say that if you did find love on a dating app that you were not a smart person.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, please. If you found the love of your life on a dating app, I'm so happy for you. I mean, part of it is so offline, off the podcast, Ryan and I do talk to each other. And recently we were having a conversation where Ryan was kind of expressing that she had been at an event with friends and she just kind of realized that it was tough being there because they were all kind of basic, And again, there's nothing wrong with being basic. I'm the most basic bitch eater in the entire world, and I have no problem with it. Yeah. I'm not going skydiving. I'm not doing any kind of adrenaline-raising shit. But in many, many, many ways, I am complicated and I am not basic.
Yeah.
And
haven't had all of the life experiences that the majority of white women of a certain class tend to have.
But I also, for a long time, regarded that as there's something wrong with me.
Yes.
Instead of realizing, no, this is something I choose. Because, I could do the dumb stuff. I mean, I could be boring. I could be married to someone who wants to watch football every Sunday. I could do that. Would I be happy? Fuck no. And so I think what's really toxic about Hollywood and a lot of mainstream Western media in general is this idea of the romance is the thing.
Yeah.
That's what makes you happy. That if you don't have that, you're not whole. You're never going to be happy. And it's just fucking bullshit. I realized a long time ago that there was never going to be one person that could be my everything.
No, exactly.
There was no way that person does not exist. And there are people who find each other and they are meant to be and they're best friends and they want to fuck each other. And that's great. And I'm so happy for you. But as far as I'm concerned, that's like winning the fucking lottery.
Yeah.
Good for you. But that's not normal. And the fact that we have just normalized this as something that we must all chase and attain, how can this be good for ourselves?
Well, I think that as a society, we just, as a whole, have got to get rid of the idea of normal in every capacity, in every way. Or that there's some kind of here, middle, if you're in here in this curve or whatever, you're normal or you're good, and anything outside is different or divert. We were having this conversation about neurodivergent, and it's yes, it's better than saying all the other things, but it's why is it that, having ADHD is considered a disorder, or that there's something wrong with you, or having autism or whatever? So it's it's the same as being I can't operate in this space because it is set up for one type of person. What's the same for people of color, right? Or genders, you can't operate in this space because this space and the rules for how this space functions and what it takes to be successful in this space are not made for people like you. I feel until as a society we are able to stop having, the rod that we compare everything's compared to, this is the good, this is the perfect, the attainable, the norm, the whatever,
right, the thing that doesn't exist.
We're going to be miserable. We are going to make ourselves miserable trying to do that for whatever way, and making rules and making society and making anyone who isn't the rod or close to the rod fit, and I think for me, that's like my entire goal as a teacher and an educator is to dismantle these fucking systems that make it so hard for people who aren't here. But yeah, no, I mean, I totally agree with you. Like, I mean, I sometimes feel like with Ben and I, because our relationship is very non-traditional, our relationship is very, like he is not my best friend. He never will be my best friend. I love him. He loves me, but he's certainly not my everything. And we met 30 years ago, we probably wouldn't even have liked each other. I think I will say I have never tried to change him. I don't feel like I've ever tried to change myself for him. And so the other thing I was going to say in response to you too is I feel like our happiest and most enjoyable relationships with people of the opposite sex are always the non-romantic or the lesser, or romance isn't the primary thing.
Yeah.
And for Ben and I, romance is not a huge part of our relationship, right? Like, I mean, there's sex, but like, flowers and I love you and, shit like that, that's not a big deal. But like, you had such wonderful male friendships when you were in high school. I've definitely had a lot of very great and have some great and enjoy my male friendships more than I have female friendships over the years. And even now with like our family friends and things like that. Because then I think in those spaces we can because with friendship, it's easier to just be yourself and be okay with that. So yeah, fuck this movie. No.
Grease is fine. But you know what's better than Grease?
Grease 2.
Grease 2, baby. That's absolutely right.
It's so good. I will never forget because, I mean, I don't know if I should wait and say this next week, but man, I showed it to students last year as part of my women's studies class. And there was one student, watching her watch this movie was so fun. Like, it was just so fun because the faces and the commentary, I mean, it was amazing. So, Trinity, thank you for that gift. She was a delight.
We will share that. If somehow none of you have seen Grease 2, strongly recommend a watch before we talk about it. And definitely check out I Saw What You Did. They recently had a Grease 2 episode, and then they had one of the actors come on an episode after that and interviewed him, and those were both very delightful. So if you're into Grease 2, you can hear us talk about it, but there's lots of other people who talk about it too. So thank you.
And go see the Barbie movie. If you haven't seen the Barbie movie, go see the Barbie movie.
Yes. Yeah, that's
Sorry.
it. No, it's okay. Go see Barbie. It is great. Thank you. That's it for this episode of I Love You, but join us next week when we discuss Grease 2. What made you laugh? What made you cringe? What did we forget? What should we talk about in future episodes? Are there other fan theories out there about Grease that we're missing? What do we need to know? Tell us. We want to know your thoughts. Find us on Instagram and Threads at iloveyoubutpod, or email us at iloveyoubutpod@gmail.com. Listener email and comments may turn up in future episodes. Be sure to rate, review, and follow I Love You But wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for listening. I'm Heather.
I'm Rian, and we send you lots and lots of conditional love.
And now I have to go to a meeting.